It won't be. Okay, it's 4 o'clock, so I just want to call the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Service Committee meeting to order. May I have the motion on the minutes? Move second, and call the question. Those in favor, opposed, motion carry. The next committee meeting will be on June the 25th, 2024, 4 o'clock. Now, tentatively, we put it on the Anderson room, but we are not sure whether or not it will still be here or there. But tentatively, it's set for Anderson room. And so any addition to the agenda?
Yeah, Your Worship, how's that sound? Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of referral motions I want to make with regard to cycling after, but I'd like to add to the agenda the Sidaway property over on Sidaway Road, 3316, and also outdoor pools. I have a motion on outdoor pools. I have a referral to staff from both of those.
So can I put them
Could that go under
4A?
4A, 4B?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the cycling resolutions I have there refer to staff. I'd like to make those as we discuss the dog park. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so those are addition to the agenda. Okay, good. Now, let's go to the first item, number 3, Road Park proposed enhancement update. Anything to add from staff? No, seeing none. Now, I know that there are a few people who wants to speak on this topic, and I've 4 people registered already. So I've called on them to come up to delegate, and each person with 5 minutes. So the first one would be Jesse Lee. Are you here?
Yes, online.
Oh, good, thank you.
Can you hear me all right?
Okay, so yes, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Jesse, and today I am representing Hub Cycling's Richmond Local Committee, a nonprofit with the mission of getting more people cycling more often. I'm here today to remind councillors of the importance of keeping a cycling connection in this area. Richmond has a rich bike trail system enjoyed by people of all walks of life, whether rolling or walking, whether two-legged or four. And it would be a serious loss to Richmond's recreational cycling network to introduce a gap in this area, especially since a multi-use trail has been present here for a very long time. I mean, even before the area was designated as a dog park back in 2001, it was still part of the South Dyke Trail. Further, there's very clearly a high demand from people cycling for a path following the South Dyke. Certainly, there's a lot from recreational cycling, but also, since the Station Highway multi-use path isn't complete yet, for commuters to and from the George Massey Tunnel bike shuttle, this is the only route that can be considered comfortable for riders of all ages and abilities. And if the city doesn't accommodate this use, they could very well see misuse, which would only increase tensions between user groups. It's also worth noting that simply requiring that people cycling dismount and walk still introduces a gap in the cycling network. After all, just because there's sidewalks that you can walk your bike on doesn't mean that Richmond's cycling network is complete. Additionally, you're quite a bit slower when you dismount and walk rather than riding. And walking a bike any substantial distance gets somewhat awkward, so it's unlikely that people would follow the rules if they were required to dismount. That's all I had to say today. Thank you.
Okay, good, thank you. So no question. So next speaker is Jeremy Dickey. Please come forward. So introduce yourself in 5 minutes.
Sure. Jerome Dickey, 9280 Glen Ellen Drive, Richmond. So first of all, I'd like to thank those of you here who are passionate about Bark Park as a unique place to enjoy and want to see safety improved. Thank you for coming to show your support from all the folks here who have come. On July 24th to 2023, I delegated to City Council regarding the safety concerns many residents expressed regarding Bark Park. Since then, park staff have undertaken a public engagement process and are now presenting several options for a decision. Thanks to park staff for all the time and effort invested in developing the proposed options. I appreciate there are many other projects you could be focused on, so let's move safety at Bark Park forward today. In regards to the April 29th staff recommendations, I'm here today to express my support for option E, a new multi-use path along the north edge of the site, and option D with regards to the entrance. Here's why option E is the best choice. Option E physically segregates people and dogs from bikes, which goes directly back to the initial ask to improve safety via the petition. Generally speaking, bike paths don't run through off-leash dog parks, well, for obvious reasons. Option E maximizes retained space for the off-leash dog area and maintains the walking loop currently provided by the present paths so people can get exercise walking. Option E provides a safe and segregated path for bikes to ride through the park and not have to worry about hurting someone's dog and or ending up in some kind of violent altercation over such incidents. Option E also provides a multi-use path for people who do not want to walk through an off-leash dog park for whatever reason in alignment with the city's accessibility goal. As for the entrance and option D, I'm sure park staff can use their professional judgment to implement this safely. I realize there's a cost to improving safety, and although legal liability may not be a concern to the city, there is a moral imperative here to prevent harm. How many more people and our dogs need to be harmed? Remember, Council approved $5 million to rebuild a lawn bowling facility, which did not address a core value of the city, that being safety of residents. Not addressing safety in Bark Park is also a choice, one I'm sure you don't want to be making today. I appreciate the choice before you as councillors and know you will make the right choice today after our 10 months of advocating to make Bark Park safer. Thank you.
Okay, so Councillor Day, you've got a question?
Yeah, thank
Yes.
you. Are you a user of the dog park?
I certainly am. I'm there almost every day with my dog, and then I do bike too through there occasionally.
Can you speak to how has the use of the park increased over the years in terms of volume of people and volume of bikes and overall?
Well, it seems to be getting busier, and that makes sense when you look at the demographic trends of more people living here. It's only going to get busier, and it's a set amount of space. So I think for me, you know, I notice that really on weekends, there's a lot of bikes and a lot of people there. And that's probably the most dangerous time other than maybe during the week in the late afternoon when people are commuting on bikes. But clearly the volume is going up, and with the nice weather, it only gets more, you know, through the summer as it is.
And you mentioned that you weren't aware of any other off-leash dog parks that have cycling through them. Is that why you think the path to the north along with the fence is the best option?
Well, yeah, if you just think about an off-leash dog park, I think there is one, someone, North Van or something, there is one apparently. I don't know the makeup of that. But, you know, dogs are triggered, a lot of dogs, by moving things and bikes moving fast. That's just the nature of it. And it just takes one unexpected move by either a bike or a dog, and you've got an incident. We're seeing still some incidents at the park. The barriers have helped certainly bring awareness, so it's been a good move in the interim. It's too bad we didn't do that about 8 months ago. But it's definitely helped, but it's not a solution itself, because now we have issues with some people are not happy moving barriers, and that creates its own incidents as well.
All right. Thank you very much.
So Councillor Galindez?
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you for coming to speak. Just a question, option E that you're referring to, the North Side Trail, it shows an entrance to that as going along the north side of the parking lot. So anybody who is using the South Dyke Trail, like say kids on their tricycles or whatnot, would have to cross the parking lot road and use that North Trail. What do you think about doing option D for the entrance, which is the South Dyke Trail leading into the North Dyke Trail?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, you know, you can make D work. It's not perfect, but with the right setup, yeah, it makes sense. Otherwise, you're running the bike path or, you know, the new north path right into basically River Road there, right? Yeah. And that's a bad corner to begin with because it's a 90-degree current corner. I don't think it'd be safe to be moving this path right directly into that without some serious changes to that whole corner. So either way, you're going to have, it's probably going to be more costly to do that. So D makes sense in terms of. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Councillor Hobbs?
Thank you, and through the chair, thanks for coming forward and delegating today. And just one question about the possibility of doing the option that you've recommended for the multi-use path. And in the report, I believe it has it as a multi-use pathway, so there's cyclists, there's pedestrians, and there's people with dogs on leash. I'm just wondering what your opinion would be if that very northern trail was for cyclists and pedestrians without dogs who, as you described, may want to just get through the park and
Yeah.
not be used to dogs, and keep the dogs.
Got a dog. That said, more likely, I think out-of-town people who aren't familiar with the park may use that. But clearly, if, multi-use, however you want to limit it, is up to the city. I don't know what kind of restrictions you can put on it. But ideally moving, obviously, people and dogs.
Have we addressed in the report all the safety or some of the safety issues that you see out on that as a user every day? It's great to say we've got a route and this and that, but what about the safety issues? What are the safety issues? The bikes, the speed, the dog off leash, the dog not in control. Have we addressed them here or even mitigated them?
You mean with the option as proposed?
Yeah, with whatever option, yeah. I think you have to look, no matter what option you pick, you got to look at what are you trying to alleviate, and in this case, the first priority is safety for all.
Yeah, so safety to me, again, going back to the very beginning of this, is segregation, physical segregation of moving bikes, moving vehicles, if you want, from people and dogs. And as we know, moving vehicles are bikes, there are scooters, there are all kinds of things these days, and certainly the speeds are not becoming less. So to me, if we have that segregation, whatever that looks like, that's a huge step forward.
If we were able to lighten a load on the vehicle traffic, would that make a difference regardless of the route?
I'm not sure what you mean by light.
Well, if we gave the cyclists another alternative route in addition to what is there, and they might go a different route, would that
Well, I could.
in terms of lightening the load on the dog park?
Well, certainly, if you don't have any bikes going through there, for example, then you could ask yourself, what would he need the path for, maybe? Other than there will be people who, again, want to walk, who don't want to walk through a dog park for whatever reason. So either way, you'll need a path there, if you want, for accessibility, right? Whether it's a multi-use or it's people without dogs, whatever, right?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Thank you. So the third delegate is Judith Hassan. Judith, I don't see her here. Is she on Zoom? Okay, no. Okay, in that case, we just move on. Michelle, Mr. Coed.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michelle Cloete, C-L-O-E-T-E. I'm happy to be here today. I support what Jerome had to say. I come as a dog owner. I've also been a cyclist. I've used the park for several years. I've seen a huge change in the volume of the users of the park, meaning cyclists, scooters, people on feet, dog owners, cars, trucks. It's increased, quite a bit over the years. The problem really is what we're discussing is the safety hazard. I have been there myself where I've seen cyclists barreling down the gravel path on everything but, normal bikes, gas-powered bikes, and they've fallen. We've had to call an ambulance because of their speeding. Not to mention, I've also witnessed a lot of altercations between cyclists and dog owners. I myself, I have a small dog. I'm very familiar with a lot of the dog owners in the park. We all want to embrace the park together, enjoy the park together, which is a beautiful park. And it's not a point of it's our park and it's not your park. It's just a point of we should have a safe park that we can all enjoy together. The thing is that even though you've put the barriers, as Jerome said, they're taking the barriers down. They're lifting them out of the way so they can go around. There's been a lot of things happening since you put the barriers, but not in a plus way. It is a start, and we appreciate you addressing it. It is a start in the beginning. However, it is a safety problem with the cyclists and the dog owners and the dogs off leash, because it is an off-leash park. It's been like that for years. We do try to follow and be responsible as dog owners in the park, and as well as, helping the other cyclists, just making them understand where we are as opposed to where they are. So I just wanted to come here and say I do support the park. I support everybody using the park, but we really have to look at the safety side of it, because, as we were saying, the volume is getting out of hand. It's crazy. I mean, there's so many people on so many scooters, and they're not going slowly. Some of these scooters go really fast. I've actually witnessed them hitting dogs, not only dogs, people, pedestrians. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to come here and say, let's embrace the park together. Let's, moving forward, let's try to make it a safe place so we can all use it. Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Councillor Day?
Thank you very much. It's nice to talk to people who actually use the park, because
Yes,
that's
yes.
important. So if a segregated pathway is built on the northern side so that we maintain the dog park as it is, you said they go really fast. Do you think we need speed bumps?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, currently, we've got gravel on the parks, and that doesn't seem to deter them. They're still speeding. A lot of them have these electrical bikes, and they can get up to incredible speeds.
Okay.
And I myself, I've actually, with another dog owner, we've actually got a first aid kit out and helped people that have crashed and called an ambulance. And I mean, it's not just like dogs and owners, it's people not using better judgment that are just tearing through the park. Yeah. You've got children there too. They're not on a leash. They're running around. They're trying to enjoy the park too. So it's a safety measure for everyone, not just the dogs, for everybody. So yes, I do support what Jerome said, and I do appreciate all his support and what he's done to represent the park. I mean, the pathway, as he described, against the E, which would be a little bit more segregated, so everybody wouldn't be literally at each other's, it'd give us a bit of space in between.
And you mentioned these temporary barriers that were put up in an attempt to try to slow things down. Were those not filled with water?
They were filled with water, but people have taken it upon themselves to empty them, move them, and it's just, I go there every day. So it's just, it's just getting to the point where it's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous, and we appreciate your efforts, but you have people there, they're using, terrible language, and they're swearing, and they're cussing, and they're moving things, they're putting tree stumps in front of, the pathway, like, it just goes on and on and on. I mean, it's just a park, for crying out loud, I'm not talking about the moon here, it's a park.
It's supposed to be fun.
I mean, it's supposed to be fun, right? And everybody should. We all work so hard every day. We just want to go and relax and, take our, whether it's our kids or our dogs, out for a walk, Wasn't that the way it was intended in the beginning of time?
Yeah.
So,
All right.
it's not like that right now.
Okay. Well, we're going to fix it.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Hobbs?
Thanks, and through the chair, thanks for coming forward and speaking.
Absolutely.
I think just on what you mentioned lastly, the safety barriers, whether it's a speed bump or whether it's some kind of chicane where people have to slow down to get through it, I think that can probably be looked at and be done as we move forward with the decision. But my actual question for you was, and it might not be totally fair, but I wonder this myself when I'm down there. I see a number of road bikes, the people that want to go really fast. I see quite a few of them take number 3 road and Finn Road and then go down the 4 road extension.
Right.
Do you have any idea what you think the percentage of road bikes are that would divert down there? I should have asked Jerome as well, but
Yeah, it's a huge volume of road bikes. And like I say, there's the electrical bikes now that are going at incredible speeds.
right.
So yeah, if you could divert them somewhere else, I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah, because some do self-divert because they want to stay on the road, right? So
Exactly.
I was wondering,
Exactly.
yeah, okay.
But
That's
it's just, the attitude isn't a favorable attitude, the way it's just like all of this built up anxiety towards everybody, and it shouldn't be like that. You're in a park, right?
No, I agree.
I mean, I cycled for years too.
Yeah.
I've cycled in that park, but I was extremely careful and mindful that there's children, there's people, there's many, many elements in the park.
Yeah.
So it's really common sense, which is not that common anymore, apparently.
No, okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so thank you. So are there any other people who want to speak on this topic? Oh, please come forward, introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Smith. I'm a resident of Richmond, and I'm at the Bark Park once or twice a day often, taking my daughter's dog Daisy, a big Bernese mountain dog. My observation, although anecdotal, is that the traffic calming barriers have been helpful, that the number of bikes have reduced significantly, and it seems in my observation that a lot of the bikes seemingly have self-selected to go up number 3 road and around on Finn Road. There's been the occasional fast bike. That small percentage still seems to come through. My first initial thought was that if there were permanent chicanes, that might do the trick, but I think the ultimate purpose is to separate cyclists from dogs, simply to eliminate the concern about safety. And so the option of having the trail along the north side, I think, is a good one. And then if the bikes are going fast or slow and all the bikes are in that area, well, then they can sort it out, right? If there are some bikes going faster, well, then at least it's separated out from the people that are walking or from the dogs. And I do believe, I read the information, but perhaps not thoroughly. It sounds as though there was a second option that would add another path for other vehicles or walkers or dogs on leash, and that might again separate it out from the cyclists. But in general, fewer bikes. And the barriers, albeit they're set up to fill them with water so they can't be moved, my observation was that they were filled up maybe a foot deep because obviously the water's heavy. And when the city workers come in with their trucks to do some of their tasks within the park, if it was fully, if they were full of water, they'd be too heavy to move. And of course, they're just temporary anyways. And I think I saw one of the options would be gates at both ends, if I recalled. Do I have that accurately? My initial thoughts on that was not being too thrilled about the sense of the park being fenced all the way around. At the same time, I guess I could understand the need there for there to be gates at each end because there's going to be a fence, and then that would reduce dogs racing across the bike path. Currently right now, the dogs will go into the parking area, and in my observation, that generally is not a problem, but if we're trying again to separate bikes from dogs, I guess a fence or a gate might be necessary, but be a small sacrifice.
Okay, Councillor T.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's nice to talk to people again who are using the park. So staff had recommended option F, which is just widening that middle path and putting a fence down the middle. And what we seem to be talking about is option E, which is a brand-new separate path that's fenced on the northern side.
Right.
Somewhere, maybe not right at the fence, but somewhere close to it.
Yep.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's the best option because as my friend Jesse from Hub talked about, it's more of a pathway through for commuters, right? So they're only spending a few minutes cycling through. I don't know if anybody had ever suggested they get off and walk. I mean, I think that there was maybe some talk about that. I think we were just asking for people to slow down and be mindful. But if they were in that northern part of the park, it's out of the way. The cyclists are moving through, within a few minutes, they've gone from one end to the other. And so it's kind of out of the way, as well as when there was the previous option of the trail being up on the south end of the park.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that's their destination. So they go there with their dogs. They're there for an hour, hour and a half. They want to be able to enjoy the river. The cyclists generally are just cycling through and they're there for 3, 4, 5 minutes as they move from one end to the other. So why not be on the north side? They're not there for the view anyways, really.
I was going to ask you one more question, but on that point, you're right. I actually sat on those benches and thought about what would it be like if there was a bike
Yeah,
whipping by me if I happened to get up and didn't notice. And so I agree, it's more of a leisurely hangout,
Yes.
enjoy the view. Okay, so the recommended option from staff was to just widen the middle path, but you've got a large dog. I mean, I would imagine you need all the space you can get with all those people and dogs using the park. And that's why I'm leaning towards option E, because it keeps that main trail, the middle trail and the dike trail intact. So
Right.
what do you?
yeah. If I understood what you were saying was if that goes on the north side as opposed to the south side. Yeah, I think that it provides the majority of the park for the dogs as opposed to breaking it up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because I also used to have a big dog, and they do take up some space.
Well, yeah, and I think you'll find that the dogs, because it's such a nice large area, when the dogs get running, they need the room to run.
Yeah.
And they really, they need not only the length of the park, but the width of the park because they're racing around. Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
So are there any other people who wants to speak? I just want to make sure that everyone who wants to speak has a chance to speak. Okay, so seeing none, so we go on to this discussion. So staff has a report and a recommendation. So I just open this up for discussion. So any questions? Councilor Galindez.
Thank you. Thank you, staff. This has been going back and forth, and you came forward with some options, and we sent it back, and we met on site and looked at everything together and talked about options. And I do understand why staff recommended option F, probably because the extra bit of permitting time it's going to take to get the riparian area permits, and the cost is a little lower, so you could probably do it a little bit quicker, and we want to address the issues as safely as possible. But I think still overall option E is the best option, because it's the majority of what all the Bark Park users want and of the people that signed the petition. I have a few questions. On page 9 of the report, it talked about the original, and pardon my voice and everything, I'm a little bit sick. I talked about how we were going to put on item 3 in italics there, that staff put up the, immediately put up appropriate barriers and then install wooden barriers. So are we still at just the temporary barrier stage with the orange barriers and not moved on to the next stage of wooden barriers?
Through the chair to Councillor Galindez, thanks for the question. The way staff understand that referral point is about the A-frame wooden barriers instead of, I think, what you're thinking about, almost like permanent-looking wooden barriers, right? So I think that's why on site right now, in terms of intermediate or temporary measures, we have both the water barricades as well as the wooden A-frame barriers as well.
Really?
They might be moved around similar to what some other delegation mentioned about. They were there early on.
But regardless, so whatever we move forward with, whatever option, from now until the fall, we're not just going to stick with the orange system. We're going to, but I'm going to be motioning that we install some gates and things right away. So we'll probably could improve the aesthetic of it and make things a little more permanent as far as the separation. Okay, and then just a couple more questions. Are motorized vehicles allowed on the current path that goes through the Bark Park?
Through the chair to Councillor Galindez, e-bikes are allowed, but they are under a certain speed limit. If my recollection is accurate, I think the speed limit is under 15 kilometers per hour on dike trails. E-scooters are not allowed on any non-paved pathways. We understand that there are people who may not follow rules. We will have reporting to our bylaw officer to have regular or checking from time to time.
Mm-hmm. What is the spirit behind not allowing e-scooters on gravel paths but allowing electric bikes? Because can't electric bikes go like as fast as a car, but the scooters can only go 30 or so?
Thank you, Chair, to Councillor Galindez. I cannot speak to that. I'm not sure if
that's probably a broader e-scooter issue
but we
in
do
general,
have,
right?
We do have Director of Transportation here who can speak on that.
Thank you.
Hi, yeah, through the chair to Councillor Glanders. E-bikes that are allowed on roadways and in public spaces are limited to much lower speeds. I can't remember exactly, but I think it's around 25 or 30 kilometers an hour. There are kits and people buy out there that are faster, or modifications that people do, but those are not legally permitted on roadways or in public spaces.
Okay, thank you for that. Through the chair, just a couple more. Thank you. Lloyd, you might want to, I need to, yeah. So what we're saying is that the e-bikes, the spirit of the e-bikes, where there was a power-assisted bike, those are allowed, but when people modify them and turn them into these car-type things that we've seen, I mean, I see them go down the highway, they're going faster than cars. Like, they're souped up with big wheels and engines, right? Like, there's like gas-powered engine ones and stuff now. So those are not allowed on our gravel trail through the park.
Yeah.
Because they go too fast.
Through the chair to Councillor Glanders, no, absolutely not. Like, and I think gas-powered vehicles, I can't remember, there's a limit to even mopeds and stuff like that. I think it's 50 cc's or something like that, but they're motorcycles and they have to be licensed and registered.
Okay, so as long as everybody knows that those are not allowed, so maybe there's something that we can do to prevent, you know, some more enforcement, somebody, you know, at certain times of the weekend, just making it be known and issuing tickets if need be to deal with that. And then my final question to staff is about the entrance to option E. So if we go to page 28, sorry, 26, you've got the entrance going on the north side, all the way to the north of the parking lot and then crossing over there. Whereas for option F, you're using the entrance D, which goes along the Dyke Trail and crosses over. And the removal of 7 to 13 trees then on page 26 that's referenced if we went with option E, I believe that's including some of the trees on that preferred entrance on the north side of the parking lot, is it not? So we could probably retain a lot more of those trees if we went with option D?
To the chair, to Councillor Glanders, that's correct. Some of the tree removal required per the presented to you, option E in the report will require removal of trees in that area as specified. If we are to incorporate this option with option D for the entrance option, then potentially what we can do is we can then utilize the existing diagonal path connecting from the Dyke Trail down to the North Trail as a MGP, and then move the fence, which is currently red on the thick red line on option E, page 26, a little bit to the east side, so that would be adjusted to accommodate that option.
Great, that makes sense, thank you. And so that's all my questions of staff. I have some comments and a motion, but I can do that after everyone's asked their questions, maybe?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Now, before I go to the Councillor Manatee, I want to ask staff, so have we strengthened the enforcement against those, you know, e-bikes and e-scooters? Have we strengthened any enforcement?
Mr. Chair, I don't know that I can speak to that. Perhaps someone from RCMP or Community Safety could answer that, because at the end of the day, the moving violations, like the speed, are an RCMP issue.
We do have staff from bylaws that can answer that question.
Thank you for the question through the chair. Bikes speeding through our Dyke trails, things like that, are the responsibility of the RCMP Road Safety Unit. They have done some great work on some media campaigns and scooter testing specifically. Given some of the feedback and the comments here today, I'll certainly liaise with that unit regarding this location.
Okay, good, thank you. So next, Councillor Manatee.
Thank you. And on that, with the RCMP, e-bikes are not just an issue in this park. They are an issue in Richmond. I think that's another issue I'm going to bring up a little bit later in terms of a referral. Just go outside there and you'll see the e-bike pass every car on the road if they're following the guidelines with no helmets. And they'll have flip-flops and wearing them. So anyhow, that's the truth. As I mentioned earlier, we're dealing with people, bikes, and dogs, and there is no solution. There is no perfect solution. Okay, if this is the thing, we're going to be able to mitigate it. And obviously, be one issue solved over another, but we won't do it. I come back because there is no price for safety. Through to staff, have we mitigated as much as we can for safety, looking at the options of each of those? You know, putting barriers out doesn't solve the safety problem. What else do we have to do to protect the dogs, to protect the people, to protect? I've been down there as much as others. We need to protect each of the entities there, including the cyclists, to protect them from themselves. What have we done? Have we exhausted that regardless of the route? I'm thinking of corrective, you know, when we go into an area, we got speed bumps, we've got circular planters in the front middle of the road, we've got other options on it. So what have we done in terms of the park?
Through the chair to Councillor Manotti, you're correct. I think we've also taken reference from other municipal dog parks from other municipalities in the region, etc. And really one of the key measures is segregation, right? So that's why in our option, we provide segregation in terms of physical segregation between the different user groups. Some of the comments received and throughout the engagement periods, as well as today, we've also heard, for example, we could also introduce chicane kind of gates in the two entrances, for example, to slow down cyclists. We could further introduce speed bumps, etc. So all those can be considered further to reduce and mitigate the conflict and speed.
Okay. Have we? And I guess we had a speaker here from Hub. You know, there are responsibilities, okay? And the cyclists have the responsibility too, just to it's like driving a car. You have a responsibility, and there are things you're going to do. And there are code to cycling rules on the road, off the road, etc. Have we made an overt request of Hub to be involved and remind its members the courtesies of riding around people, riding with dogs, etc.? Just out of curiosity.
Through the chair to Councillor Manotti, throughout this process, we have been in contact with Hub, not only to remind them, but also to let them know that there are this referral, safety concerns, and here's our options, so that they can review, they can provide comments, as well as feedback. So I can imagine that they've communicated to the members, because through this process, they're obviously collecting opinion from their members as well.
Right, they have that communication, and that's something that one of my referrals actually benefits Hubs no end. And if we're going to work together and they're going to be responsible, they have to be an active partner in this. I think what I'm hearing is we need to slow down the bikes no matter where they are. How do we slow them down, okay? If they have their own path, we still need to slow them down, okay? And I think we have to be honest with what, and not kumbaya about it. We need to be honest. These things, as Mr. B says, they'll go 40, 50 miles an hour, okay? And I see it every morning going to South Arm. I drive the speed limit at 50K, and the guy's passing me, and I can't catch up to him. I'm not going to try, but so we know what happens on the road. So I'm just hoping that we've exhausted all solutions and we're creative in what we're doing. And I know there's going to be a motion here in a minute on it, and there are probably some corollaries to go with it. But the bottom line is safety for all, and that may address all the options if we're going to go forward. And I know we'll go forward, and I do appreciate the delegations that came tonight that are there. I've sat on the benches down there and talked to many of you as well to know many of the issues and seen them there. So I'm looking forward to the motion, Mr. Chairman, that's going to go on the floor, and then we can debate it.
Okay. Councillor Hobbs.
Thanks. And through the chair, well, I echo a lot of the comments that were just made by Councillor McNulty and Councillor Glanders. But first of all, I do want to acknowledge staff and the efforts they put forward in this. There's been a lot of consultation, a lot of reports, tours of the site, and sadly, one of the things is whatever solution we pass probably won't satisfy everybody. So hopefully we'll come up with a good one that works for most people. I mean, just a couple comments about enforcement and education and engineering. Generally, with all traffic issues, those are the 3 E's, right? Engineering solutions, enforcement, and education. In this situation, I think engineering is going to be a big one. And I think education is also a big one. Enforcement is going to be a little bit more problematic down there, quite frankly, for the police to get down there on a regular basis. But the goal, I agree, is to improve safety for all the users. And I think one of the complications with this location is that it's an off-leash park, but it's overlaid on top of something that is also a number of other things. A couple other corridors for different things, a dike that protects us from flooding and that kind of thing. So another issue is going to be, to maximize deconfliction, minimize risk. And the 2 parts that are going to be, I think, a little bit more difficult to deal with will be the entrance and exits. Because that's where people are going to come together, whether they're walking, a dog, walking as a pedestrian, cycling through the parking lot or at the east end. And I think that deconfliction is going to take what I like to call peaceful coexistence. And common sense was mentioned here earlier, and as we all know, it's not that common all the time, but we're going to have to hope and pray a little bit for common sense too. I think the solution from an engineering point of view, if you want to call it that, is a segregated path for cyclists. I have always favored having one as far north as we can make it. And so I think one of the options that is going to be spoken about later covers that off. So in terms of that pathway to the north, one of the reasons I do like it, and I think one of the delegations brought it up at an earlier meeting, is it retains more of the park for the off-leash area. Because if we keep it in the middle and kind of divide it with fences, then that cuts off the area to the north. And so if we push the cycling path further to the north as far as we can, it keeps most of the park open. So we have other challenges with the dike. I think you've all heard we can't drill into it to make gates and things like that. So those are other challenges. But I think I won't bother asking, well, staff is sitting right there. So I think I will ask you, when it comes to slowing bikes down on the actual multi-use pathway that the cyclists would be on if we pass something that allows for that, we can adjust the chicanes there. There's no issue with drilling into the ground or going into the ground there, right? So we could have 2, we could have 3, whether it's a speed bump or some kind of chicane to keep bikes at a moderate speed as they traverse the park.
To the chair, to Councillor Hobbs, in principle, yes. It will also depend on the location of the chicane. For example, if it is outside of the RMA area, outside of the dike core, we probably have more flexibility. If it is within the dike core, depending on the options, right? Then the practicality would be limited because we have to go through the provincial permitting officials, and they'll likely reject it because then it's an impeachment into the dike, and so on and so forth. So we will have to actually look at the actual practicality, but in general, yes, we can have the flexibility to add more or adjust them.
More flexibility there.
Correct.
Okay. And just one last comment. So for instance, if we make a motion that has the pathway furthest to the north for cyclists, now it's a multi-use pathway, and I noticed in the report that it has pedestrians, people with dogs on leashes, and cyclists. And I'll see what the rest of the conversation is, but my preference is to, in order to have the segregation and ultimate safety, I'm inclined, and my preference would be to have that northern pathway for cyclists and pedestrians that maybe are a little bit nervous around dogs and, are going through the park for, the one rare time or something. But I'll see what other people say, because if we have one to the north, it still leaves that circular route with the dike and the trail that exists in the middle for dogs and dog walkers to walk. And so I'll see how that conversation goes. But thank you very much for all the work on the report.
Councillor Wu.
Thank you. Through the chair, just a couple brief questions, pretty much following up what Councillor Glanders was asking about in regards to option D as the entrance on the west, leading to option E for the length of Bark Park. And that they don't quite jive together, right? Because the way it's shown on page 26, option E is already is going north of the parking lot, right? So, and that's all been made aware. And then the tree component to it, I counted 5 trees that shouldn't need to be impacted if the entrance does go along the existing path that option D recommends. So then I think we're down to 2 to 8 trees to be removed. And I think when I did the walk there was, I think, at least 2 that I saw that were probably in line with that northern route. And then I think there would still be 9 trees relocated. And then, could staff just confirm, do I have all that correct or close to when it comes to those numbers of trees?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, I think you're very close in terms of the actual location, because combining option D, the entrance option, with option E would mean that the MUP route is adjusted probably through some of the trees, or potentially in the open space. The fence will move along, so the actual number we'll have to verify on site to understand the actual impact, but I think you're close.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you for that. And then I'm not sure if anyone I'm sorry I'm not in the room, I'm just finishing my pink eye infection here today, I think. But I don't know if anyone in the room can answer. Is there still plans to add more trees to the existing Bark Park? Like, is there long-term plans? I know we get a lot of cash in lieu from developers for trees they remove and they don't fit them on their site, and they're going to be planted somewhere. Are you able to confirm, will there be more trees in addition to what we're talking about in the removal and relocation?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, we do not have a solid concept plan that talks about adding more trees to it. From time to time, our department will look at potential sites for compensation trees to increase urban forestry coverage, et cetera, but not a solid plan to add more trees here.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Yeah, and I'll just echo all the others, the delegates provided as they have at previous discussions on this and in the petition, provided I think council a lot of reason to ask for more and expedite perhaps some of the safety measures that were temporarily brought forward by staff, and I think after today we'll kind of be given a more permanent direction. So I'm looking forward to what the referrals are that will be made. The only other comments I thought I'd make now are just in regard to that multi-use component of this the trail to the north. So it is going to remain gravel, so it's not going to be intended for high speed. And I know a lot of people and myself, I've done the 3 Road, Finn Road, Garden City, or all the way over to Woodward Slough on the 4 Road connector. If that's what you're after, if you have tires that are suited for that, that's what you'll do. If you're trying to just get quicker and hug the dike, then yeah, you would, and you have tires that can handle it, you'd go on the gravel. And I do know that there is potential for conflict when you have people walking dogs, people just walking or running, and cyclists, but that goes for all multi-use pathways. The one on Alderbridge Way, the new one that's in sections open along Easton Highway, when I'm traveling on the Westminster Highway one from Hamilton. Everyone on those paths needs to be conscious. What's different about those multi-use pathways is the other ones are paved, so you typically get faster moving traffic of all forms, modes of people moving. But with this gravel one and the more scenic nature of the site, I think it should lend to there being less of that, because it's not, again, so much about people commuting to or from work. That's more of people on their recreational leisure time. And then the other comment I had is I appreciate the fenced off component of that trail. I know people, including my daughter, who's had some run-ins with dogs, and anytime there's an off-leash dog, she jumps to me to get picked up off the ground, even if it's those small dogs. And so, I value that fence and that separation and the ease that it will give to people who who have that fear of the dog encounters. So I think that'll be all my comments right now. I might speak up further with the referrals, but I really appreciate the options and the ability to blend the options that were presented to us today. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Day?
Perfect, thank you. So thank you for the report. Wow, was it ever a lot to take in? I mean, we got so many options for the entrance and so many options for the actual additional trail. I was just curious, staff recommended option F, which was just widening that middle trail and putting a fence in the middle, and then having the entrance from the west. Is that, for all intents and purposes, option D?
That's correct.
Okay, so it is D, perfect. So I just wanted to double check. Option A, for the entrance to the west, would require geotechnical, structural, civil, and qualified environmental professional involvement because it would be in the north side of the parking lot. But option D does not require any of that, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so then let's go to option E, married with D. And nowhere on option E does it mention any of the geotechnical requirements. So is it correct to assume that a new multi-use path separated on the north side, somewhere between the existing middle trail and the fence, would not require, well, it actually does say geotechnical and qualified environmental professional. If we move it a little bit closer to the middle trail, could we avoid those requirements?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, potentially yes, but if we move closer, that means you're practically widening the existing path. Because when you move closer down south, you're getting very close to the existing north path. One thing not to be overlooked is the many number of trees existing alongside that area as well. So you practically be looking at removing another 30 trees or so.
Okay, so if option E was the preferred option of this committee, which I'm not a member of, is there some wiggle room so that we can potentially avoid some of those geotechnical considerations?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, yes, of course we can look at what's practical right there. I think just one thing to reiterate the reason for geotechnical professional involvement it's because as the farther we move north, the closer we get to the ditch, and so we need to make sure that the ditch is stabilized, etc. So the geotechnical is for that reason.
Okay, so if this is the chosen option by committee, then we can get into the dirty details as we go further. And then what is the timeline for the entrance, option D, and the new north side multi-use pathway that has a fence to separate it, option E? What would that be approximate timeline?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, I think in terms of the option D, the entrances, depending on council eventual direction, which if should a recommendation or referral move ahead, that would be approved in the next council meeting, then we're looking at the middle of June as a start, right? So after that, what we're looking at is probably 4 to 6 weeks for detailed design, and then a certain period of time for procurement for materials, timber, potentially some foundations for gates. If we had to add to some chicane gates or speed bumps, etc., and that would also be part of the procurement. So it takes some time. And then after that, we'll go forward with implementation. So if we are to act immediately, we'll be looking at approximately September, October for implementation.
So September.
Actual work on site.
Actual work on site for September of this year?
Yeah,
Okay, for the fences and the gates.
that's correct.
What about the multi-use pathway?
That would take longer, depending on the options. Once again, if we are going with option D, with option
E.
F.
Option E.
Option E would get very close to the ditch, so we'll probably have to go through some RMA application, permitting application. So that will take longer time before we get approval for the work. We will not be able to do any work.
Well, time is of the essence, given that there's already been some very serious accidents. So if there's some wiggle room on option E to potentially move it maybe a little further away from that ditch, is it possible we could speed up the timeline?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, if time is of the essence, I think option F would be suitable. Option E really, we really need to look into, how much space we can move off from the RMA area. If we get any closer, we'll have to go through the application period, which takes some time from 6 to 18 months.
Okay, well, we got to get it done right, that's for sure. And we don't want to divide the park in half with a fence, as some of the dog walkers talked about. I mean, if you put a fence down where the trail is now and widen that, you've cut the park maybe not in half, but 2/3. So how usable is the park if we make it that much smaller? So I know option E will take a little longer, but we could put the fence up by September and at least slow people down with the gates. We could put up signs letting people know that we're working on all of the permitting to get that north side trail done. In the meantime, people could always use number 3 Road, Finn Road, and Garden City Road, so.
Through the chair to Councillor, that's correct. So if we are, if council is supportive of, for example, option D combined with option E, potentially we can look at areas where we do not need to go through permitting, right? For example, at the entrance area, etc. We can expedite on that, do that first, and then wait for the permitting to be approved.
So even if option E is voted on today, I mean, there's still more information to come once you get professional reports.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. On the staff recommendations, so number 1 is that the recommended enhancements to provide a separated multi-use pathway as outlined in the staff report, that would be replaced with, that park staff proceed with option E, a north side multi-use pathway, with option D for a connection trail. And it can be worded however it needs to be worded.
I'll second that.
Yes, second.
Okay, thank you. And that's the first part, and I just want to speak to that. So we're going to have people coming in on the South Dike that are dogs on leash, people with their children on tricycles, people in wheelchairs, etc. And so that's going to continue on, and then the people will see that there's a dog park there with a gate and signage, and they can continue on to this north trail if they don't want to be walking with the off-leash dogs. I think that the cyclists that are on the road, the main cyclists that are on the road, they're not going to decide to go up to the gravel path and then take that. They'll just continue to go through the parking lot for now. I know that Councillor McNulty's going to make a referral about some other options we could use for cyclists on the road. So then hopefully down the road we'll be not having cyclists maybe going through there. The ones that are the fast going ones on the road will have another option. I just want to comment on all the delegations and the comments about the fences and the gates, and I totally get that. I get the idea that it's this absolutely beautiful place and you want to just feel like you're at the beach, but I don't think it needs to be a big invasive, fenced off, caged in area by any means. I hope that it feels like it's like you're going into your backyard. You've got a little wooden post and you open a little gate and you're going into your yard, and it's big enough and large enough that it's not going to change at all how it feels to be at the park now. But we do have to reduce those conflict points by the parking lot. So it's a little bit of a give and take there in order to make it as safe as possible, especially just since the usage is going to keep increasing. So I think that's just a given there. Yeah, so that's about that. And just in the meantime, I understand it's gonna, I think we just need to proceed with this because we need to get started on it right away. And we've all, and, but in the meantime, that there's safety measures that we should take right away regarding installing fences. And I wrote this on this thing, installing the fences and gates on the west side and east sides of the Bark Park, fill the current water barricades with water. It sounds like they already are, to prevent people from moving them. Hopefully we won't need those orange things at all anymore once the proper permanent gates and things are put up. Install large signage that clearly marks the cycling path in the Bark Park. Signage to inform public of upcoming projects and contact information for bylaw officers. And then I also wrote down about a gate and fence on the east side of Crown Packaging Trail, but I think that Councilor McNulty will speak about that in his motion. So that's all for me. Do I need that second part about safety measures to be a part B of 1B?
Right. But Section said we hold on to that for now, okay?
Let's do one thing at a time.
Yeah. Yes. So, Councilor Manatee, you want to speak on the
Yeah,
motion?
I just want, I'm not going to regurgitate everything and talk of the benefits of it, everything. On the north side, to you, to staff, we talk about a multi-use pathway. But I'm talking about a dedicated bike lane to get the cyclists off the dog park so that it is it. So why we call it a multi-use park lane, it should be a bicycle lane, and we want the cyclists to use it and own it and say, this is ours. There will be no dogs on it. There will be no people on it. There will be nothing but my friends and my bike riders. And is that not correct to staff?
To the chair, to Councillor Minotti, sure.
So why we call it multi-use? Because multi-use means you're going to use all kinds of things. Why don't we call it a dedicated bike lane on the north side and the rest of the park is a dog park for people and dogs?
Todd will actually provide an answer
Todd.
to that. Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty. So currently what is in the proposals is an MUP along the north side of the north section of the park. If I'm hearing you correctly, you're asking for a completely separate cyclist path. And then if we were to do that, we would then have to add a secondary trail as a MUP adjacent to the cyclist path, because we have other types of users, as a number of councillors have noted, that may not want to go through the dog off-leash park. So if that's something you want us to entertain, we can definitely do that as part of the redesign of the site. We could have a separate section specifically for cyclists, and then another section specifically as a MUP for other types of mobility. This also, the reason it's an MUP is that's in keeping with the entire dike system in the community, and that's consistent.
Well, by not dedicating it, we haven't solved a damn thing. We're back to square one. The rest of the people have got the whole dike, which is about 60 feet wide, and they got a path right up the middle. They've got everything else. They've got the green space inside, for those that have been out there. And we want to get the cyclists off there. Isn't that not what our goal was? So I'm hoping, I'm just looking at the terminology. When you use multi-use, you're talking multi-use, as opposed to, let's have this as, there's where the bikes will go on the north side. They'll be away from everything, fenced off, and away you go. Okay, that's what I thought we were doing.
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty, perhaps we're saying the same things differently. So the proposal is for a completely separated pathway to the north, which will have a fence so that the dog park is maximized in size and will provide complete separation for dogs off leash. The MUP to the north is for multi-use. So if you are a cyclist, if you are a walker, a jogger, whatever, you would be using this pathway system similar to the rest of the dike system.
Okay, that's not what I read. To me, no people on this, but unless one is accompanied by a bike. And that's it. And then the others would be jog through the whole area etc.
Now, I want to ask staff to clarify for us.
I thought that's what we were trying to do, is get the cyclists off that. And that's why I wondered why we continue using the word multi-use. I would expect on that north side, there wouldn't be any walkers there. Why would you have walkers there and a bicycle going by again? We haven't solved anything.
I just want to clarify with staff. So staff is suggesting that if we have a dedicated bike lane to the north, we still need to have an MUP somewhere in between.
Why?
No, I just want to clarify. Is what staff is talking?
Through to the chair, we can do whatever you ultimately direct us to do, but the dog park is specifically for off-leash dog park users. So as we heard, there may be people that are not comfortable walking through a dog off-leash area, so we need to provide an access point for them to get from one end to the other. That would be the MUP. We typically have been discussing that the MUP, as an MUP is multi-serving, is cyclists, and all these other types of uses. If committee is so inclined that they want to take that a step further and comply further separation, a pathway specifically for cyclists, we still do need to provide a pathway, I'll call it the MUP because that's in keeping with the rest of the system, to provide access for other types of users. But as of right now, what's on the table and all the options is an MUP, and in this case, what the motion is an MUP to the extreme north of the park that provides separation from dog off-leash users and provides that safety between them and cyclists and other users, and vice versa.
Why can't we have a unique park?
Okay.
Why do we have to follow what everything has been done when we have a problem? That's all I'm going to say.
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty, we can certainly take direction if that is the wish of the majority of council. I would like to just note that I think separating the bikes completely, and it would be interesting to consult with Hub on this, is I think that might invite them to go faster and get us back to where we've started, which is with bikes going a little bit too fast. We do have success with a multi-use path being shared, but ultimately we take direction from council, and we will look to you to provide direction on whether you want a multi-use path or a separated bike path. We can do either.
Okay, now my understanding is that the original motion is about a new MUP to the north. So, Councillor Manotti, do you want to make an amendment to?
I just want an interpretation of it.
Okay. So the interpretation is that it be a MUP, right? Okay.
I'm not going to say anymore. Let's hear the rest of this.
Okay, Councillor Hobbs.
Thanks, and through the chair. Yeah, just following up on that point, that was kind of my question as well that Councillor McNulty asked. With the MUP, which is how I read it in the report, it is for everybody, including dogs on leash. But that is the one question that I voiced earlier was, if it is a multi-use pathway, would it be for dogs on leash as well? Because they do have the rest of the south of the park, and we are trying to deconflict as much as we reasonably can in a very confined space. So the question is, bearing what I just heard about multi-use pathways and having to have a pathway for people who might be shy of dogs or something, would we have dogs on that path where the bikes are? I mean, there might be the odd person walking, but are we going to have dogs even if they are on leash?
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, that's correct. So dogs can go on anywhere, including the parking lot, while they're on leash. So including the proposed MUP, wherever the MUP is, they are allowed as long as they're on leash.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to ask, Councillor Wolf, do you want to say something?
No, all good, thanks.
Okay, good. So, Councillor Colinas?
Thanks. I'm just going to wrap up and address some of the ideas that were just brought up. Our entire dike network, so the West Dike Trail, the South Dike Trail leading up to this, is about 3.5 meters wide. And that has dogs on leash, bikes and walkers and joggers and strollers without incident. I'm on the West Dike Trail every day, and there's enough room there for a bike to go by and people with their strollers and people with dogs on leash. It's not an issue. And we do not want to, I don't want to stop that at the Bark Park and only have bikes, and then everybody else doesn't have a way to get through. It's just a continuation of our Dyke Trail as it is. I don't believe we need a dedicated cyclist-only path on that north side trail, because what we want there is a gravel trail that's just a continuation of a family-friendly, all-user path that we have that goes all throughout Richmond. If you make that bikes only, then a family with kids on a tricycle, like Michael Wolf and his daughter, who they don't want to walk through the dog park because they're afraid of dogs, can continue on their way and go around the other side and continue on their adventure. And if we want to have a cyclist path, then I think we need another referral to do a dedicated bike lanes, possibly on the road, 3 Road, Garden City, Finn Road. And that would encourage all the commuters and the bikes to take that route and not take the gravel route anyway. And that'll really reduce the cycling and conflicts on the park. And so this isn't anything different. This isn't a multi-use pathway like a railway. This is simply just continuing our existing dike, which is for everybody. I'm not comfortable at all blocking off an entire section of our waterfront to somebody who doesn't want to be walking through a dog park. So I think it's a good solution. It might not be perfect, but we can't let lack of perfection stop our progress here.
Councillor Day?
Yeah, thank you. To staff, can you just confirm that to the east and west of the Bark Park is a multi-use pathway?
To the chair, that's correct.
Yeah. So is there any other multi-use pathways in the city of Richmond that have a section that is only for bikes?
To the chair, to Councillor Day, not that I know of.
Okay, so if we are going to do an only bike section, would it make more sense to have that, for example, on number 3 Road, Finn Road, and Garden City Road?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, I cannot comment on that because I think having a dedicated bike lane, basically that is what it is. It's something that our transportation department will look at, not parks.
Yeah. You know what, we hear a lot about multi-use pathways all over Richmond. Well, we gotta make the best use of our resources. And I don't think it would make sense for that very short distance of the Bark Park, which can't be more than a quarter or half a mile, to change it suddenly to bike only. I think we're better off to leave it as a multi-use pathway. But in addition to this, start looking at where we can create a bypass, where people who are cycling at a much higher speed, they shouldn't be going in and around. It's like a zigzag around crown packaging. I would think that looking at a better alternative for cyclists who are commuter cyclists. But I do want to point out that in the Hub report, which I don't think anybody got, but I got one, it shows clearly bikes and people. So people are going to be walking in the dog park. They're not going to be walking so much with the bikes. And I think that if we do it this way, it's a good compromise. And as staff pointed out, we don't want them speeding along there. So having people with strollers or having people walking, it's just going to make everybody be more responsible and more respectful of one another. So I think the motion as it stands is pretty good. If I was on it, I would vote for it.
Okay, I know that there are other motions coming up, so let's vote on this one. So may I call the question on this motion? Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carry. Very good. So, Councilor Melendez, you want to talk about the other part of your motion, which is about safety measures?
Sure. The staff immediately address safety issues and enhance them by installing fences and gates on the west side and east side of Bark Park. I said fill the current water barricades with water to prevent them from moving them, but I don't think we need to say that, so I'm just forget that. So install fences and gates on the west and east sides of Bark Park. Install large signage that clearly marks the cycling path in the Bark Park. Signage to inform the public of upcoming projects and contact information for bylaw officers. So everybody knows what's going on. There's going to be a path in the north, and for now they can use the middle path and that they have to go slow. And I think having the gates will get people to not use this, the south trail at all.
Okay, second. So any further discussion? Seeing none, I call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carry. Okay, now we have other motions coming up. Councillor Monetti?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Well, if you don't like the title, then I'm his worship. All right. I have three recommendations, actually four for cycling, and these are referrals to staff. First one is that staff investigate the feasibility and cost to establish single or bidirectional cyclist lane from the dike on number 3 Road, north to Finn Road, east to Finn Road to Garden City Road, and south to Garden City Road to Dike Road, with the current speed limit of 50K. And at that time, the proposed speed limit be reduced to 30 and be brought back as soon as possible.
Second. So any
Just to refer
discussion?
to staff. I don't want to.
Okay.
The reason being, I want to give Hub another opportunity for increasing our cycling lanes, but it also takes them out of the park and gives them a opportunity to go around. And if they want to speed, there'd be hopefully an opportunity if indeed we should do it. So we leave that with staff.
Good. Carol, you want to speak on this?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, if I was on this committee, I would be supporting that. I think it's a good idea to look at a bypass, because if you look at the map, and this was provided by Hub Cycling, it's a more direct route for them to do through the dog park, on the multi-use trail, around Crown Packaging. It's just such a precarious, very narrow area, and we councillors, we went and met staff at the location, and the trail around Crown Packaging is just not feasible for having bikes. It's just way too narrow. I've ridden it myself, and you have to get off your bike and make those 90-degree corners. So if for serious cyclists, and so many of our new condos are now built with only one parking spot, but lots of parking spots for bikes. So I think that looking into this is looking into the future. So I think we should do that. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hobbs?
Thanks, and through the chair, yeah, I'll be supporting the referral. The reality is we have all kinds of different bike users, and so the trail around the packaging plant is, narrow and it's difficult and everything, but people do like using it with bikes, and again, yeah, I do have to use common sense, and I've done it with grandkids and stuff, and they like it and they go really slow. But I'll support the referral because there are all kinds of bike users, and a lot of the road bike users prefer even now going down 3 Road and down Finn Road and then down 4 Road and hooking up to the dike again. And it's just, as we all know, super popular, especially on the weekend. So if there's something we can do to improve that and make it a safer cycling route, then it's a good idea. So I'll be supporting it.
Councillor Wolf, do you have any comments?
No, I'll support it as well.
Okay,
Thanks.
good. So I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carry?
Two quick
Okay.
ones, Mr. Chairman. That next one is that staff and investigate the process to reduce the motor vehicle speed along the above route that I just mentioned from the current 50 to 30K. And I just refer that to staff. I'd like to move referral to staff to look at it. There's a sign, it's 50K on that particular road. The signage is there. Maybe signage from yesteryear, but it's there.
So second. Councillor D, you want to comment?
Yeah, I'm just curious, so the motion that was just passed, the referral motion, reduces the speed from 50K to 30K. So that's already done on the new.
But I want a separate motion to do it now, because that bike route
Oh.
may not happen. This is the current, now the
Gotcha,
cars are
okay.
traveling today, that's why I put that one in.
And then your next motion would be from number 2 Road to number 5 Road?
Yes, and the next one, separate motion.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Okay, good. So I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carry? So your third motion?
Yeah, is the staff investigates the process to reduce the motor vehicle speeds to 30K along Dike Road from number 2 Road to number 5 Road, where we have cyclists now and stuff, and we got to reduce the speed there.
So you second it? Second, okay. Councillor Hobbs?
Oh, I thought Carol was, me? Thanks, and through the chair. Yeah, I'll support looking at that. As long as staff have some flexibility, maybe 40K, might be good too. But the reality is a lot of people go that speed limit or around that speed limit anyway. Very few people that I see do 50 or more, and the ones that do, I just wonder, why are you here? go on Stevenson Highway. So I think it's a good idea, and it's a heavily used road, very heavily used for recreation purposes and sightseeing and walking and everything else. So thanks.
Okay, good. Councillor Day?
And when this comes to council, I will wholeheartedly support that because it's such a beautiful route. And I love driving along the dike and seeing the water and the boats and everything else. But when I've got some, moron racing past me and passing me on Dike Road, that just makes me mad. It's a beautiful scenic route. Slow down and enjoy it. And if you don't like it, as Councillor Hobbs said, take Stevenson Highway. So yeah, it's just ridiculous that people use that as a raceway. And every time I've ever been on it, that's happened to me.
Councillor Glendes?
Thank you. I'll support the referral. And just have a question. Is this going to go to council and then be done, that the speed is getting reduced, or is it a referral that they come back with options to council?
It's got to come back to us.
Yeah, it's just to investigate. Yep. Okay. So call a question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carry. Okay.
The Crown packaging site is dealt with in number 2, really. It says cost of widening. I've added installing new signage and gates, et cetera, but I think it's all there. Staff can take it under advisement.
Okay.
No referral on that.
Okay, so we
Thank
don't
you.
need a referral on that one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Councillor Glendes?
I just want to confirm, because we still need to move that then, the staff recommendation that staff further analyze the impacts and costs of widening the existing trail located within the statutory right-of-way over 13800 number 3 road around Crown Packaging and report back. So I'll also move that.
Second? I thought we did, but okay.
No, you have to come with that. Okay, so it's moved and seconded. Any further comments? Seeing none, call a question. Those in favor, opposed, motion carried. Very good. Okay, so we are moving on to item number 2, Bowling Green Community Activity Center Public Art Concept Proposal. Long title. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm here to present the report. Nothing to add, and here to answer any questions.
Move the recommendation with thanks.
Move, seconded. Yeah, okay. I just want to ask a question. So we know that the selected concept. So what are the other 2 proposals from the other 2 artists being solicited?
There were 3 shortlisted artists, which all worked within the terms of reference for the project. The reason the jury selected Welcome by Luke Ramsey is because it was the most feasible, most within the budget, and also worked with the design guidelines for the project.
But what were the 2 other proposed designs?
Oh, like what they look specifically?
Yeah, what did they look like?
Oh, one was more abstract with more circular forms, and it was more difficult to create with the design guidelines because they're using pavers, so it was harder to create that design, but it was kind of circular. And the other one was it depicted an airplane, actually. Again, a little bit more difficult within the budget and the design guidelines, but they're all beautiful. Yeah. But just this one was more within the terms of reference of the project.
Yes, good. Yeah, I'm just being curious. I have no objection to the proposed design. So, is Councillor Glendes?
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you. It's always exciting to see what our artists come up with. And I had the same question that Councillor Au had. I saw the shortlisted artists, and then I thought I was going to get to see all 3 and possibly costs and feasibility associated with all 3 and your recommended options. So I was a little surprised that we didn't get to see the other ones.
Through the chair to Councillor Glanders, as part of the public art policy, we do have an arm's length community jury that works through the terms of reference for the project. We have, in this case, we have a two-stage selection process. This the selection is done by the selection panel, and then that that selection goes to the Public Art Advisory Committee and then goes to council. But it's the selection panel that sees the, receives submissions.
So we don't ever see all of them. We usually just see what the independent panel has chosen.
Yes, so the selection panel makes the recommendation and council approves that recommendation.
Okay, and just one follow-up. I know some of the artists on this list. I know that some of them are local Richmond artists. Is the Luke Ramsey who was selected, is he also a local Richmond artist?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Is the chosen artist from Richmond?
Through the chair to Councillor Galanders, the chosen artist is not from Richmond, no, from British Columbia, from Victoria.
Okay. Do you consider that in your selecting, in the independent body, did they get points for being local or anything like that when they're measuring the...
Through the chair to Councillor Galanders, this specific project, the terms of reference were for a British Columbia artist.
Oh, yeah.
So that was part of it. But we do have other projects that are specifically for Richmond-based artists. And Richmond-based artists are always invited to apply.
Okay. Well, it does look really neat. Looks like a lovely piece.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Manati?
Yeah, just thanks very much. A good process. I'm glad we're getting on with it. Just a quick question. You're not going to be answering. Somebody else can. On page 48, is that what our new Bowling Green Community Activity Center is going to look like? Good job. I love to see us have the well in advance, and we could probably have murals on both sides now. I'm excited.
Through the chair to Councilor McNulty, yes, that's basically.
That's the rendering. Good job. I love it. Okay, keep moving it ahead. Sooner we can open it, the better, and I can see 3 more walls where we can get some more art on there. Thank you very much.
So, no, maybe even the rooftop. We can do some
Yeah, we can
aerial,
even do the rooftop thing.
so people can see it from the plane. So anyway, so the motion is
Move the
moved and
recommendation.
seconded. Call a question. Those in favor, opposed, motion carry. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next item. Richmond Community Wellness Strategy Progress Update 2022-2023. I know that we have a video to show.
Through the chair, it is our pleasure to be here to present the Community Wellness Strategy Progress Update for 2022 and 2023. Prior to answering any questions you may have about the report, we have a highlights video to show you a summary of some of the many incredible and diverse achievements and successes from 2022 and 2023 that have contributed to improving the health and well-being of Richmond residents.
For individuals, wellness means balancing our physical, mental, social, and spiritual well-being. At a community level, wellness means living in harmony with others, respecting diversity, feeling safe, supported, and included, and feeling a sense of belonging in our community. In 2018, Richmond City Council endorsed the Community Wellness Strategy. As a designated global active city, Richmond is committed to promoting healthy, active lifestyles to prevent chronic disease and promote well-being. Developed collaboratively by the City of Richmond, Vancouver Coastal Health, and the Richmond School District, the strategy provides a plan to improve wellness for Richmond residents and outlines 5 focus areas. 1. Healthy, active, and involved lifestyles. 2. Physical and social connectedness. 3. Equitable access. 4. Safe and healthy environments. 5. Wellness literacy. In 2021, Council received a Wellness Strategy Progress Update, and now, in 2024, the 3 partners are sharing updates from 2022 and 2023, reaffirming their commitment to advancing wellness for those who live, work, and play in Richmond. Improving access and opportunities for physical activity, healthy eating, and mental wellness are important to promoting healthy lifestyles. Richmond offers a variety of ways for people of all ages to stay active. from guided walks like the Walk, Listen, Record digital storytelling project, to the Story Walk Library program, to cycling events like the Island City Bike Tour. This annual event showcases new and existing cycling infrastructure in the city, all while fostering a sense of camaraderie among cyclists of all levels. Healthy eating isn't just about eating better, it's also about knowing more about the food we eat. Community gardens are a great place to learn about and connect over food. Strengthening mental wellness takes a whole community. Foundry Richmond offers essential services for youth and families, making it easier for individuals to find the care, connection, and support that they need. Did you know that feeling a sense of belonging and value to the community is good for our physical, mental, and emotional health? But social connections between strangers don't just happen. Initiatives like the Neighborhood Celebration Grant empower residents to bring people from diverse backgrounds together, fund creative projects that build social connections, and break down barriers. Between 2022 and 2023, the Neighborhood Celebration Grant funded 28 school events, 33 block parties, and 67 community events and programs. Another way to improve wellness for everyone is by making it easier to access community resources. In 2022, the Social Prescribing Program was launched to connect patients to non-clinical support services throughout Richmond, such as specialty exercise classes or music programs. The Library Champions Project, hosted by the Richmond Public Library, trains new immigrants to connect with other newcomers to community resources. The program has connected over 13,000 newcomers to resources and opportunities in the community. Many new programs have been launched that focus on reducing barriers. The Recreation Fee Subsidy Program helps Richmond residents of all ages who experience financial barriers to access recreational programs. The number of participants in the program continues to grow, and in 2023, there were almost 3,000 participants. Also in 2023, the Richmond School District launched the Feeding Futures program, allowing more students to excel by providing more healthy and nutritious food options at school. Our natural and built environments play a critical role in our health and wellness. And now, wayfinding is easier too. Since 2023, the city has installed park identification and wayfinding signage in over 50 parks and trails, enhancing visibility and safety. The mural program has become a popular feature, adding vibrancy to public spaces throughout Richmond. With 10 more added between 2022 and 2023, these murals foster community connection and cultural exchange across generations. Improving wellness literacy empowers people to better navigate health and wellness resources. The city continues to offer a number of programming options, such as the 55 Plus Activate Wellness Fair and Go Day. In 2022, Richmond residents enthusiastically participated in the Participaction Community Challenge, logging 9.7 million minutes of physical activity over the month of June. This strong community spirit resulted in Richmond earning the title of British Columbia's most active community. Richmond residents came out even stronger in 2023, surpassing their 2022 active minutes by 20%. And for the second year in a row, Richmond was selected as one of the 50 finalists for Canada's most active community. These are just a few of the highlights from the Richmond Community Wellness Strategy Progress Update 2022-2023. Through collaboration with Vancouver Coastal Health and Richmond School District, and in partnership with other community organizations, there are a number of projects on the horizon that will continue to foster a more active, caring, connected, healthy, and thriving community for all who live, work, and play in Richmond.
Thank you for the video. I think some questions or comments. Councillor Hobbs.
Ended up first there. Thank you, and through the chair. Well, yeah, thanks for the report, and it was a great video as well. The 5 focus areas in the report, the 2018 to 2023 period, Just wondered about that. They seem very good to me, but I wondered, has there been any analysis, feedback on those? Have there been any changes over 5 years? Are we anticipating growing the 5 focus areas? Are we all happy with that and it's perfect?
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, the 5 focus areas are still very relevant and continue to be through 2025.
Okay. And the other thing I noticed, the 3 partners in it, the main partners, it was really good to read through the report, because one of my first notes to myself was, how about NGOs, community groups? And then as you read through the report, there's just like scores of them involved. And I think that's very important. I don't know if you have any further comment on the importance of that, because it is way bigger than the 3 main partners, right?
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, absolutely. There are several organizations, several partnerships, several grant funding opportunities involved in the implementation of our wellness initiatives throughout the city. Several different departments of the city, as well as, of course, Vancouver Coastal Health and the school district, whom we have a very strong collaborative relationship with.
Sure, and my last comment and question is just about the survey. I mean, that's really important to measure what we do. You know, what gets done is measured, right? So with BC Speak 3, the survey that I think is kind of underway now or going to be done shortly, what's the sample size of that? Because some of the numbers in there are a little concerning when you look at people's loneliness and that kind of thing. So obviously you don't have a comment on what the trend is going to be going forward, but what would the sample size be of that?
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, I would need to consult with Vancouver Coastal Health to get that information for you, but would be happy to do so.
Well, I don't want to create work. I'll see it when it's done, right?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Manati?
Yeah, thanks very much. Obviously, a comprehensive report. I do want to follow on that. I would like us to get the survey sample of what they got. I'm very concerned when I see over half of our whatever the survey say their mental health has worsened. That's a serious thing in my opinion, and regardless of the sample size. And when I see that we're almost 10% are lonely, or almost always, I'd like to know what Vancouver Coastal Health is doing to help us out in that line. I think we need to pull our partners together because, as you well know, we are having an aging population in Richmond, and we live the longest. We brag about that, but we're not doing enough for seniors. You know, we think, well, 84 and a half years, we lead Canada and we pat ourselves in the back. Yeah, but what are we doing for everybody that in order to increase that? So I think it's important to see that because I think if you remember when we did the safety survey, a number of people said we're not safe in our community, blah, blah, blah. But when you looked and analyzed and you analyzed it by area, et cetera, you really got the true picture. So it's no criticism, it's just, I believe we need to have metrics that Councillor Hobbs is talking about. To me, I think our metrics on the positive side and moving forward in wellness and stuff are very high. We'll probably win participation again, or at least be in the top 3. You know, I mean, that kind of thing we're doing in the sports area and the arts area. And we're vibrant, and I think, and I didn't see an awful lot in there in terms of wellness in the arts. You know, we have some of the world famous artists in this community and painters. I know most of all because I like to see them during doors open, etc. We're blessed in this community with the artistic people that we have. And to me, that's part of wellness. That's part of mental health. We have a library system. For example, reading is mental health. I looked at CNN, guy's 101 years old. What has he done for longevity? Keep active, read, get up every day and do something. That's how he lived to 101. That's what he said in here. So let's take a hands on it. Otherwise, I mean, there's just some things missing in our wellness area. That's all I thought that we have because we do, and I think we can put sport in there as well. So we balance, and I know we do some of the things we control, but there are auxiliary groups out there that are adding to our program. Well, they're in our community. Let's take advantage of them, put them in our report, pat everybody on the back, and say, hey, this volume is bigger. And, good job. Thanks very much.
Thank you through the chair. Thank you for this. Thanks for the presentation. Thanks for the report. I so enjoy reading about it, and I love watching all the images of people enjoying Richmond. And I just think we're so spectacular as a community. And, you know, winning the award for BC's most active community, that's really impressive. So way to go. I love the report. You know, reading the background on it, and post-COVID, you know, 51% of people claiming that their mental health has been suffering, and so acknowledging that and connecting mental health with activity. I just think it's great that we're so progressive and proactive. My one comment is, there's a section of the video where we highlighted the success of the neighborhood celebration grants last year and just how many things were put on with that grant. And I know that this year we changed the requirements for that grant, that different people couldn't just apply the way they applied last year. And I know I've mentioned this already and you don't need to go into it now, but maybe we could get a memo at the end of the year at how many events were put on with the celebration grant, the way it was done this year versus last year, and so which events fell through the cracks, and if there's a grant that makes up that gap, just to compare, see how it's going. Thank you.
If I may, through the chair to Councillor Galanders, we are in the process of putting the final touches on an event plan, which will bring forward recommendations for our event approach for 2025 and on. And yes, absolutely, as we have in all years, we will report out on our events from this year in the fall for you, and we'll make sure that we note to give those updates.
Great, thank you very much.
Very good. Okay, so there's a staff recommendation. We have moved, seconded. Got a question? Those in favor, opposed, motion carry. Now we are moving on to item 4, and before the manager's report, Councillor Malati has 2 other referral motions.
Yeah, two quick referrals, Mr. Chairman. One is the Sidaway property. As we know, is the go-kart track, and I'd like to refer that staff examine the potential use of the go-kart track property on Sidaway for the purpose of sport and report back as soon as possible.
Second.
No discussion. It's a piece of property sitting there. It's fallow. I don't know whether it can be used for sport or anything else, but I think we should look at it. It's our property.
Sure.
Nothing's being used there.
Yeah, what kind of ideas did you have in mind?
Well, we could put a soccer field in there. We could play ultimate. We could have a lacrosse workout. We could have just fitness there or whatever. There is a bit of asphalt there and what have you, but we can clean it up. It's in the ALR, but
I like that idea, just because people that
have
live
a
in
farmer's market there.
Yeah, people that live in that area don't have, you know, sidewalks. They don't have a lot of parks, and
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
So we'll move seconded to, Councillor Wolf, you got a question?
Just a comment. I have our list of existing open referrals in front of me right now, and the Sidaway go-kart track soil remediation report was set to come back of Q2 of this year to the Public Works and Transportation Committee. So I don't think anyone in the room might be able to give an update. If that's still the plan, it would probably come next month at the PWT. If no comments, that's fine. I'll support this as an option too. Thanks.
Okay, yep, good. So I call the question. Those in favor, opposed, motion carry.
And the last one I have, Mr. Chairman, is the staff invested the cost of the city of offering free admission to all participants for the 2 outdoor pools during the month of June to September. And I would so move that to staff.
Second.
And the reason I have that, you know, we talk about every child should learn to swim. We don't want to have any drownings, what have you. I don't know the status of swimming lessons. We've put money towards lifeguards, and our aquatics program is a good program. We've got swim clubs here, but every child should do it. And the reason if it's free, people will tend to come and utilize the pool. If it's not free, people tend not to come to the pool to get near aquatics, and those are the ones that usually get themselves in peril. So, anyhow, let's see what staff can come back with.
Sure. Okay, so I'll call the, Councillor Hobbs.
Thanks, and through the chair, just to clarify, Would that be for children, like under a certain age? that would be
Anybody,
free?
yeah, children as well. Staff can come back and say, good morning,
They'll
it's
come
for
back with
kids.
the- yeah.
We're doing Red Cross Red or something like that today. Come on and learn.
Right,
We could
thanks.
be teaching, or it could be just open supervision.
Okay.
It could be the Kigu master retires. Oh, I better be quiet. I don't say too much, sorry.
Laura?
I just have a question of staff on this. How busy, I thought the South Arm Pool was very busy in the summers when I used to go there when my kids were little.
Through the chair to Councillor Galanders, I don't have exact numbers with me, but yes, South Arm Outdoor Pool is much busier than Steveston Outdoor Pool for a comparison.
Yeah, yes, exactly, because it's warmer and it's more fun with the slides. So I just have I'm a bit apprehensive about this. I'd be curious what staff has to say, if staff has any concerns with thinking this is going to increase the numbers so much that it becomes dangerous, because I've actually found that it could be dangerous at South Arm as it is when it's really busy because people come down on the water slides. There's just so many bodies in there that I would like to know more information on your recommendations on that.
Yeah, I think staff can include that kind of information in the report, right? And that really do an analysis of how to proceed. Okay, so I call a question. Those in favor, opposed, motion carry. Any managers report? None? Okay, so can a motion to adjourn?
Question?
Oh, Michael.
Yeah, sorry, if there was no manager's report, then I'll just quickly jump in. I have just two quick things. One is committee members probably didn't check your email, but I was able to. 10 minutes ago, we got an unfortunate update that Greg Walker passed away, and Greg Walker was the chair of the board of directors of the Museum Society for the city for, I think, at least 4 years. I overlapped as the council liaison during my last term on council with him at the helm. The celebration of life will be before the next Parks meeting, so I thought I'd jump in to share that now and put it in the minutes. So on Saturday, June 22nd at 2 p.m. at South Arm United Church, there'll be a service for Greg Walker. And then my second question, or my second is a question. I don't know if staff have replied. I didn't see it, but I think all of us on committee here received a few notes from the public in regards to the Dolphin Park basketball court upgrade at Heather Park. And there was lots of appreciation and thanks for the new pavement surfacing, but there was a lot of complaints in regards to the backboard, the size of it, that it shakes, that the hoop is double rimmed, which is not the way it was, and not the way other basketball hoops are in the city, and also that the chain netting is dangerous for fingers to get caught in and rusts. And so I don't know if that person has received a reply, or if staff can comment at all in regards to the place that hosts the Dolphin Park Classic basketball tournament. Thanks.
To the chair, to Councillor Wolf, thank you for the note. I have not received those emails that you referred to. Meanwhile, I am aware of these comments from the public. We have been working with the supplier and vendor quite actively to resolve some of the problems with the chain nets, etc. So we'll continue to work through that with them. Meanwhile, we also understand that with every use, sometimes because the equipments are changed, etc., some of the users will need some time to also get used to that. For example, the metal backboard, etc., is not something about safety; it's something on taste. So it's, there are something that for the play experience, the players and the user, we just have to for the time to get used to. But in terms of anything safety related, we will look into that with our vendor.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank Councillor Wolf for bringing that up. I wasn't sure now. I'm sorry. You're looking into the issues that the public has raised. Are you going to get rid of those chains and get proper nets in or just leave them? Because the ball's not even going through right now. People want to use the park. Can we deal with that right away?
Through the chair to Councillor Galanders, we can deal with that very early or very soon. It's sometimes we have discretionary, I guess, choices about different type of nets, and there are also complaints that when there's no net, we have received complaints that there's no net. So we wouldn't just remove that right away. We'll continue to look at measures to improve it. Whether it's a safety thing. Before the project actually went ahead, we actually checked with our risk manager. We know that it's not a risk. Different cities have different all sorts of nets. So having a net, whether that be a nylon net or a chain net, is not a risk. But we also understand, there may be a fear from players. Some players enjoy that, some players do not enjoy that. So that's what I refer to as a taste discretionary comments, right? So, but regardless, we will continue to work with the vendor to resolve any safety issues.
Just to follow up, sorry. So if you look at South Arm Community Center with the basketball courts there, it's probably one of the most highly used basketball courts in the city. They're busy with kids Friday night, all night long. Why would we stray from a tried and tested basketball hoop and do this one with the chain and this different backslash? How did this come about?
Through the chair to Councillor Galanders, there is no. They are all true and tested. They're all quite welcome. You also mentioned the South Arm basketball court. It's nylon nets. We have a chain net at the Garden City Park basketball court.
Okay.
It's also really well used, and there's zero complaint ever. So it's really not about safety. It's more about user experience. If there's sharp edges, etc., we'll attend to that, right? So that's what I mean, right? Like different courts have different taste issues, user groups, and complaints and comments, and people enjoy this one more than the other, etc. But we'll continue to look at them.
Yeah, I wasn't concerned. I mean, I guess there was a safety concern that Councillor Wolf brought up, but mostly it was just that the ball wasn't going through the chains. So, like swish.
I've tested myself too, so so we'll continue to work through that.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
You want to say something?
Through the chair to Councillor Klein, I just also want to add is, the Stevenson courts you mentioned are very high use, highly visible. So we don't have any issues. In other parks that are smaller, we go to a chain net because of vandalism. It lasts much longer. We don't have any, burning of the wire or cutting of it. So it depends on location as well.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hobbs?
Yeah, thanks. And thanks through the chair, thanks, Councillor Wolf, for bringing it up, because I did get the emails. I don't really have a question. It's just a comment. I do support staff looking at the comments that came through the public. The thing about Dolphin Court, that's much different than pretty much any other court, is it's got a lot of tradition and a lot of history. And so the users of Dolphin Court are maybe of a high caliber of player. And so it'd be good if we could keep that standard of the court that we've had in our history. And as far as the wire, kind of nets go, when I go up to stuff the ball, I don't want my fingers getting caught in that. So with my ladder. But anyway, if we could look at that and try to resolve those issues, that'd be good, because it's a long tradition with a ladder. Thank you.
Okay, so do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Traveling going down.
Move. So the meeting is adjourned. So we still have to close meeting. So we just clear the room. Okay, may I have motions or compliance?
Closure and compliance.
Move, seconded.